Night Corporal Wade Hargrove's quantum spurs left blazing cobalt trails as he sprinted across the war-torn landscape of Crossroads Point. The ground shuddered beneath his boots as another orbital strike hit somewhere to the north, close enough to feel but not close enough to worry about, not compared to the immediate hellfire raining down on the Colonial Defense Force garrison half a K ahead. "Command, this is Lone Star 7, he barked into his helmet comm. "I've got eyes on Firebase Corsica. Situation is FUBAR. Approximately 200 hostiles with heavy armor support. CDF survivors pinned in the Central Command bunker, requesting immediate..." A collector particle beam sliced through the air where his head had been a millisecond earlier. Wade's quantum-enhanced reflexes had registered the targeting lock before his conscious mind processed the threat. His spurs flared brilliant blue as he rolled behind the shattered remains of a defensive wall. "Immediate fire support," he continued without missing a beat. "And tell the Remember Goliath I'm marking targets for her main guns." "Negative on orbital support, Lone Star 7, came the clipped response from command. "Collector jamming is blocking target acquisition. You're on your own until you can take out their field generator." Wade allowed himself exactly 1 second of colorful mental profanity before responding. "Copy that, proceeding on foot." He unsheathed his quantum blade, the weapon humming to life with a distinctive resonance that sang to him through his neural connection. 3 generations of Hargroves had wielded this blade, each adding their experiences to its quantum matrix. Right now, those accumulated memories were telling him that frontal assault against 200 collectors with no backup was somewhere between suicidal and monumentally stupid, but the collectors didn't leave survivors. The 63 Colonial Defense Force soldiers trapped in that bunker would be dissected for biological data if the collectors breached their position, not on his watch. Wade's helmet display highlighted the collector jamming field generator. A spindly, crystalline structure erected in what had once been the Firebase's landing zone. Between his position and that target stood approximately 40 collector ground troops, their insectoid exoskeletons gleaming with an oily iridescence under Crossroads Point's merciless twin suns. "Well," he muttered to nobody in particular, "they don't pay me by the hour." His quantum spurs flared to maximum intensity as he channeled power through the specialized matrices embedded in his armor. The night battlesuit responded instantly, energy fields coalescing around him in layers of protection that no standard military hardware could match. With his free hand, he drew his Peacemaker, a modified particle handgun that looked deceptively like an ancient six-shooter but fired concentrated quantum disruption pulses instead of bullets. Another Hargrove family heirloom, updated with each generation but maintaining its distinctive Texas Ranger styling. "Remember the Alamo," Wade whispered, the traditional invocation of Texas knights about to enter combat alone against overwhelming odds. Then he moved. To the collector ground troops, the night must have seemed to teleport. One moment there was nothing behind the ruined wall, the next a blur of motion and cobalt energy trails erupting into their ranks. Wade's quantum blade carved through the first 3 collectors before they registered his presence, the specially calibrated edge disrupting their molecular structure on contact. His Peacemaker barked 3 times in rapid succession, each shot finding the neural cluster of a collector with surgical precision. The creatures collapsed, their control systems overloaded by quantum disruption. But the element of surprise couldn't last against their numbers. The collector's hive mind communication alerted the entire force to his presence within seconds. Particle beams and plasma bolts converged on his position from multiple angles. Wade's quantum spurs left spiraling patterns as he executed a maneuver that would have been physically impossible without night technology. The matrices in his boots synchronized with his neural commands, allowing him to change direction mid-air, quantum fields redirecting momentum in defiance of conventional physics. A barrage of plasma fire scorched the ground where he had been. Wade landed in a controlled roll and came up firing, the Peacemaker's distinctive report punctuating the battlefield cacophony. Each shot claimed another collector, their chitinous bodies collapsing as quantum disruption cascaded through their system. 33 to go, he muttered, ducking behind a wrecked combat vehicle as concentrated particle beams sliced through the air around him. The quantum display inside his helmet tracked multiple targeting locks converging on his position. The wrecked vehicle wouldn't provide cover for long. The Collector's heavier weapons would cut through it in seconds. Wade reached for a specialized option on his belt, a quantum disruptor grenade engineered specifically for Collector neural networks. He activated it with a thought transmitted through his spurs, then hurled it in a high arc toward the densest concentration of hostiles. The detonation released no fire or shrapnel. Instead, a sphere of scintillating blue energy pulsed outward, intersecting with the Collector's networked communication system. 8 of them dropped simultaneously, their neural pathways overloaded by contradictory quantum signals. 25, Wade counted, already moving again. His quantum blade left trails of disintegrating molecular structure as he carved through another Collector that had moved too close. The creature's exoskeleton, designed to withstand conventional weapons, offered no resistance to the quantum disruption field emanating from the blade's edge. A lucky shot from a Collector particle weapon grazed Wade's left arm, his armor's energy field dispersing most of the impact, but not all. Pain lanced through his shoulder, neural feedback registering as damage warnings in his helmet display. The suit's medical systems immediately deployed, suppressing pain signals and injecting regenerative compounds. "Just a scratch," he growled, his quantum spurs flaring brighter as he redirected power to compensate for the damaged section of armor. The jamming field generator was now only 30 meters away, but the remaining Collectors had recognized his objective. They converged to form a defensive perimeter, their weapons creating an interlocking field of fire that would shred even a knight's quantum-enhanced armor. Behind them, Wade could see Collector heavy units beginning to deploy molecular cutting tools against the bunker's reinforced door. The Colonial Defense Force survivors had minutes at most. Time for subtlety was over. "Y'all picked the wrong planet," Wade snarled, activating the emergency protocols in his quantum spurs. Blue fire erupted from his boots, cascading upward to engulf his entire armor in quantum energy. This was the last resort option for knights in impossible situations, channeling all available power into a single, devastating offensive surge. It would render his armor non-junctional afterward, but that would be a problem for later, if there was a later. With a thought transmitted through his neural link, Wade redirected the energy into pure acceleration. His quantum spurs left trails of blue fire as he exploded forward, moving faster than any unaugmented human could track. The Collector defensive line had no time to adjust their targeting. Wade tore through their formation like a quantum tornado, his blade moving in patterns taught by generations of knight ancestors. Each strike found a critical junction in Collector anatomy. Each blast from the Peacemaker disrupted a primary neural cluster. 3 Collectors managed to interpose themselves between Wade and the jamming field generator, deploying specialized shields designed to absorb quantum energy. They had adapted to his tactics, a dangerous capability of the Collector hive mind. His quantum spurs flared with blinding intensity as he executed a maneuver no Collector algorithm could have predicted. He thrust his blade directly into the ground at his feet. The quantum disruption field cascaded outward through the soil in a controlled wave, destabilizing the molecular structure beneath the Collector's feet. As they struggled to maintain balance on the suddenly liquefying ground, Wade vaulted over their position, quantum spurs leaving spiral patterns in the air as he redirected his momentum mid-slight. He landed in a controlled roll directly beside the jamming field generator. One swing of his quantum blade severed the generator's primary power coupling. The crystalline structure shuddered, its energy field fluctuating wildly before collapsing in a cascade of failing systems. "Command! Jamming field down!" Wade reported, his breathing controlled despite the exertion. "Request immediate orbital strike on all hostile positions marked in my tactical upload." Major Campbell's voice came through crisp and clear now that the jamming was gone. "Copy that, Lone Star 7. Remember Goliad acquiring targets now. Danger close. Find cover immediately. Wade's helmet display lit up with incoming strike warnings. The closest safe position was back at the defensive wall where he'd started, 200 meters away through collector-controlled territory, with his armor's power reserves critically depleted after the emergency surge. His quantum spurs left stuttering trails as he pushed the damaged systems to their limits, accelerating back toward the defensive perimeter. Collector particle beams crisscrossed around him, some deflected by his failing energy shields, others missing as his erratic movement pattern confused their targeting algorithms. A plasma bolt caught him square in the back, disrupting his armor's remaining energy field and sending him tumbling forward. Emergency systems engaged automatically, stiffening sections of the armor to protect his spine and vital organs during the uncontrolled roll. 20 seconds to impact, came the warning from command. All friendly forces seek immediate cover. Through the sweat stinging his eyes and the flickering display of his damaged helmet, Wade saw salvation, a maintenance tunnel entrance partially concealed by debris. His quantum spurs struggled to respond as he limped toward it, each step sending fresh waves of pain through his injured body. The first orbital strike hit just as he dropped into the tunnel shaft, the shockwave propelling him deeper into the underground passage. Wade's world became noise and pressure and darkness as the Remember Goliath's main guns systematically erased the collector force from the surface of Crossroads Point. For 90 seconds, the bombardment continued. Precision strikes guided by the targeting data he'd uploaded, each one calculated to minimize collateral damage to the Colonial Defense Bunker while maximizing collector casualties. When silence finally fell, Wade activated his emergency beacon and dragged himself back toward the tunnel entrance. His quantum spurs flickered weakly, barely generating visible traces as their matrices struggled to maintain minimal functionality. Sunlight greeted him as he emerged onto a transformed battlefield. Where collector forces had stood, nothing remained but vitrified craters and molecular residue. The Colonial Defense Force bunker remained intact, its reinforced structure having weathered the precision bombardment. As Wade limped toward the bunker, its armored door slid open. Colonel Reeves, the garrison commander, emerged with his surviving troops, their expressions cycling from shock to awe as they recognized the battered knight who had single-handedly saved their position. "Knight Corporal," Reeves saluted sharply. "Firebase Corsica stands because of you. I've got 43 wounded who'll see their families again thanks to what you just did." Wade's quantum spurs left faint, stuttering trails as he returned the salute. "Just doing my job, sir. Texas Knights don't leave folks behind." As medical dropships appeared on the horizon, Wade allowed himself to finally assess his armor's damage report. 3 fractured ribs, second-degree plasma burns across 20% of his back, quantum spurs operating at minimal capacity, primary armor systems offline. All things considered, he'd had worse days. "Knight Corporal Hargrove." His comm crackled with a transmission from Knight Captain Davis aboard the Remember Goliad. "Recon drones report complete elimination of collector forces in your sector. Helluva job, son." Wade smiled behind his damaged helmet, watching the Colonial Defense Force survivors organizing their wounded with renewed purpose and determination. His quantum spurs left faint but steady blue trails as he responded. "Much obliged, Captain. Tell the medevac I've got 63 packages for pickup, and maybe one slightly used Knight." The Lone Star had held. Firebase Corsica remained standing. All in a day's work for a Thank you, channel member RJ, for making this video possible. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.